Today is Sunday, February the 24th, 2019. Hello, and welcome to Weekly Astrology Notes for the week of February 26th through March the 5th, 2019. Weekly summary, starting with the 26th on Tuesday, we've got the last quarter moon, and then on Wednesday, we got a pretty energetic day with Sun sextile Mars. Also have some good moon aspects to go along with that. And then on Friday, the 1st of March, we're going to have Venus square Uranus. It's going to bring us some restless energy and some unusual desires. And it's the last aspect for Venus before it enters Aquarius, and the last aspect for Uranus before it enters Taurus. And then we're going to have Mercury going retrograde on Tuesday the 5th, where it will be retrograde until the 28th. And that's a pretty big event. We're going to have a lot of Mercury aspects during that retrograde period, and so there's lots to discuss about that. And then on Wednesday the 6th, it's happening just before the new moon, so I'm including it in this report. Uranus fully enters Taurus. Okay, so starting with Tuesday, February the 26th, you start early in the morning with the last quarter moon. Moon square Sun, Sagittarius to Pisces. Feel the usual crisis for fulfillment as we reach the high point of this month's growth cycle. It can be a very successful time when we achieve our goals for this month, or a self-critical time when we close up and begin to reevaluate things that didn't turn out as we had hoped. In these signs, it's very expansive, and it's hard to feel comfortable within the confines of everyday mundane existence. So we seek philosophical or spiritual enlightenment to fill in the missing pieces. And when we are unwilling to face and question our own beliefs and perspectives, we can get sidetracked on fantasy and delusions and really lose touch with reality. The last quarter moon gives us a peak experience, an expansion of consciousness, maybe some transcendental wisdom, something that inspires our idealism, but taken too far can cause pain and suffering, so be sure to keep things in perspective. Sagittarius can get pompous and extravagant and totally caught up in its own perspectives, so it's really important to stay grounded in reality during these times. This Sag to Pisces square, we're going to be having another one this evening. And also, you just got to remain humble. So we have another one with the moon square Neptune, this time in the early evening. So emotions are clouded by uncertainty, hypersensitive to the environment and to what others say. So be gentle with yourself and others now. Impressions mean more than words. It's a great aspect for making art, but not a good time to make decisions. A stronger connection to animals and nature, even nature spirits. We're more psychic and able to feel the subtle vibrations around us. It's a good time to meditate and work on your connection to spirit. You know, all of the squares to Neptune are good in that way. And with these very expansive signs getting us so ungrounded, the square really helps you to get connected to physical reality. Okay, moving along to Wednesday, February the 27th. We start in the morning with Moon conjunct Jupiter. So that means folks are upbeat and optimistic on Wednesday morning. We're generous, looking to move on and to better circumstances, expand your horizons. Desire to be helpful as well. Not in the mood for work or responsibility. You feel connected to higher cosmic forces. As well, relations with women tend to be better for both sexes. And then we're having another one of those Sagittarius to Pisces squares, and this one will be in the late afternoon on Wednesday. Moon square Mercury. Emotions interfere with normal communication. In these signs, the mind wanders. Hard to stay focused on mundane tasks. You got to try to stay grounded and avoid getting totally immersed in your own perspectives. Remember what I said about staying humble with the Sag to Pisces square, something I've noticed. In this case, we have a tendency to either push our opinions onto others or agree with others just to keep the peace. And it's going to add to the Sun-Mars aspect we're having a little later this evening. Actually, that one will be in effect most all the day, but it's going to produce a lot of communication and open expression, freedom of expression at this time. And then we're going to be having a really wonderful aspect late in the evening exact. It's Sun sextile Mars. And that one will be about almost 9 degrees exactly Pisces to 9 degrees of Taurus. So this one gives us lots of physical energy. We're confident and more courageous. Desire to play and enjoy what you have. Mars and Taurus loves to do that. It brings a party atmosphere. It's a good aspect for socializing. There may be opportunities for financial gain, growth of your personal business. Both Sun and Mars and Taurus in the second house, when it's in your natal chart, are good indicators of someone who owns their own business. So it might be good for something like that. Either way, it's good opportunities for financial gain with this one. And when steadfast Mars and Taurus gets going, they don't stop. They charge ahead like a bull. But Sun in Pisces is passive and interested in the non-physical world. Put them together and you get a wonderful appreciation of both physical and non-physical side of things. You explore your sensual side, and that leads to an awakening of your spiritual senses, more sensitive to the touch and to your surroundings. Like when you're playing an instrument, you put your finger on the string, you merge with it and you feel so much more. It's also a good time to indulge in a massage. And creative energy is looking for an outlet, so you really need to expend some energy this evening. You don't want to get yourself bottled up with all this great creative energy. And even hard physical labor is good for the soul now, including helping others, because we've got Sun in Pisces. So we kind of need to sacrifice the ego a bit. So you may find yourself in some activity that helps you connect with higher source, and that often involves being of service to others. It's a good aspect for dancing and playing music, having a good time, and we're just more confident on the dance floor. Usually shy Sun in Pisces has a hard time with that, but Mars gives us the courage to do that. Either way, it should be a really great aspect for socializing and just a lot of good physical activity. Another good moon aspect to go with it is the moon trine Uranus. Ambitious. We want to put our big plans into action. Feel aligned with cosmic forces. Lots of inspiration and creative energy, as well as a bit revolutionary. Benefits come from finding something to stimulate your mind, because we're so ambitious. We want to do something new, something to bring greater awareness to our lives and move on to better circumstances. So that's kind of an exciting moon aspect to go along with the Sun Mars. And then we've got a short void, of course, until the moon enters Capricorn on late Wednesday evening. So we're more reserved and traditional for the next couple of days, attending to issues related to career and long-term survival. We're more steadfast and dependable, but not as emotionally available at other times, because our reactions are slower and we're just more cautious. And in Capricorn, the moon learns to see the other side of the issue. Okay, moving along to Thursday, February the 28th, the last day in February. We've got the moon in Capricorn all day. Just two aspects, one in the morning, which is moon trine Mars. A strong burst of physical energy on Thursday morning. Good time for a workout. We're aggressive and focused and desire to get a lot accomplished. And in the evening, it's a good time for socializing. With the moon sextile Sun, the last sextile before the new moon is always an easygoing time. Inhibitions subside, and we can share our thoughts and reflect about the work we did this month. In these signs, we're very enlightening, philosophical and abstract, intelligent. It's a good time for any creative endeavors as well. And Thursday evening might be kind of exciting because the Venus square Uranus happening early Friday morning will definitely be in effect for Thursday evening. So taking a look at that one, we're going to have Venus Well, actually, it's going to be at 29 degrees of Capricorn, 29 degrees of Aries. So just before it enters Aquarius, which is ruled by Aquarius, and just before Uranus enters Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. Kind of a nice introduction for the two of them. So responsible Venus in Capricorn feels an urge to break free, try something different, behave a little unpredictable. Sudden attractions that stimulate your creative imagination. During this aspect, we express our individuality through our one-to-one interactions with others, and that usually means through our relationships. And it can be very good. It stimulates our need for change and evolution with a partner, which is great if the other person is feeling the same way. It could make for some really enlightening conversation, see people in a new way, and it's just more exciting. However, people are less reliable. You may need to step in for a less than reliable partner, or just help somebody out who hasn't quite got it together. But you need to let go of constraints on others. If you love someone, set them free. That old adage really works well today. It could cause some disagreements, as traditional Venus in Capricorn has a hard time being flexible. We tend to act more impersonal, friendly and interested, but don't want to get emotionally entangled with others. Folks need more freedom, so the more restrictive you are towards others, the more this aspect brings disruption. Freedom and independence, I should say. You may feel restless, dissatisfied, and not happy with your friends or partner or your career. You know, the Venus squares tend to do that. Sometimes we just generally feel dissatisfied. And in this case, it's the Capricorn to Aries square, that whole question of self-discipline versus self-determination that we all have to ask ourselves. Sometimes it manifests as career restricts your individuality. So we really might feel a desire to break free suddenly here, especially since Venus is just about to enter Aquarius. So we're more attracted to the unusual, which can lead to foolish or out of the ordinary behavior. But for the most part, it brings some great stimulation to help break out of a stagnant situation. It's not a good time to make decisions. We're kind of hasty, impulsive, easy to reach the wrong conclusion. And sudden attractions can bring disruptive relationships into your life. Uranus is egalitarian and wants others to evolve, so you may need to counsel or help someone else in their relationship, or help provide the missing structure for another relationship. This is something that, and that's expressed as an ambition to help others. So we're each experiencing a crisis to find our place, your personal space within the larger group, and some folks can be really helpful in that regard, helpful towards others. You just need to be flexible today, and it's just not a good time to be overly structured in your own life or to be demanding with anyone. And as I mentioned, it's the last one for Uranus in Taurus and the last for Venus in Aquarius. It's, I think, a nice introduction to both. And then also in the morning on Friday, we're going to be having some moon aspects here. We got moon sextile Neptune. So we're kind of reserved and reflective, sensitive, concerned about the welfare of others, and able to sense the feelings of others and make the proper adjustments. And then also in the morning, we got Venus entering Aquarius, where it will be until March the 26th. So Venus in Aquarius is impersonal, interested, yet emotionally detached. So we enjoy spending time with a group where you find peace and harmony. Personal habits and codes of conduct go from very traditional in Capricorn to no rules at all in Aquarius. Whatever you can get away with. Aquarius believes that rules cease to exist when they are no longer necessary, which you can see is kind of an enlightened view. It really is. So they only follow the rules when they need to. We're more interested in avant-garde art forms rather than the usual fare. Just lots of changes in preferences. Your usual likes and dislikes change. This month you need to find something to stimulate your mind on a regular basis. and you just need to be flexible with others, more independent, and let others have their independence as well. Open to new ideas, trying something new. And it's the only aspect for Venus in Aquarius, actually two of them, are going to be happening on the same day. And that'll be on the 21st, Venus square Mars and Venus sextile Jupiter on that day. So I'll talk about that when they get there, but that should be pretty exciting for Venus in Aquarius. Okay, so we got the Moon conjunct Saturn. Well, this is going to make us a little bit reserved and cautious on Friday morning, in the middle of the morning. After all of that Aquarian energy has us kind of agitated, suddenly we get this Moon conjunct Saturn. So we're going to be slowing down kind of quickly, suddenly, I should say. Responses get slow. No reactions out of some folks. We just kind of really close up. Or at least nothing dramatic. We pause and reflect and take stock of the issue before we respond to be sure we can consider the long-term effects. It's time for therapy and emotional restructuring. It's good to eat a nice warm meal, something you really enjoy. It helps to overcome feelings of disappointment, and we're just more aware of our limitations now. We can't brush them aside, we have to look at them. So you want to seek trusted advice, and it's a good time for meditation. And then later in the evening, in the day, actually this will be in the evening, Moon conjunct Pluto. And then we come out of all of that Uranus energy, and in the mid-morning we got Moon conjunct Saturn. So now we're reserved and cautious. Emotions kind of slow down. Responses are very slow. No reaction out of some folks, or at least nothing dramatic. We pause and reflect and take stock of the issue before responding to be sure we can consider the long-term effects. It's time for therapy and emotional restructuring. Now, it's good to eat a nice warm meal now, something you really enjoy. It helps to overcome feelings of disappointment as we're just more aware of our limitations now. As well, Saturn tends to slow down the digestive process, so eating a warm meal kind of helps to counteract that. So we're just more aware of our limitations now, and we can't brush them aside. We have to look at them. So it's good to seek trusted advice or to meditate. And then in the evening on Friday, kind of the early evening, we have the Moon conjunct Pluto. So here we've got another one that you got to stay active with Pluto. You don't want to be stagnant. So benefits come from staying focused and keeping your energy flowing and positive to avoid stagnation. Pluto can bring up intense energies, so avoid resentment or getting fixated on a particular thought to the detriment of everything else in your life. You just need to keep moving and express the energy in a productive way. We have lots of passion and stamina and able to focus on whatever needs to get done. Able to attend to your most vital concerns, money and survival, and it's a good time for cleaning the house and repair, regeneration around the home. We have more sexual energy now, but you want to avoid emotional entanglements and stay away from anything underhanded. Okay, moving along to Saturday, March the 2nd. We start in the morning with Moon sextile Mercury. Emotions and intellect working in harmony. We're kind of connected to both worlds here. The physical world in Capricorn and the non-physical world in Pisces. As well, we desire to be of service to others. It's a good aspect for reflection. We're probably pretty calm on Saturday morning, because definitely we don't want to do anything that's too restless with the Moon in Capricorn. And then later in the morning we've got the Moon square Uranus. Intelligent yet unpredictable. Don't want to be constrained. Folks are touchy now, not a good time for relationships, and social interactions can be more difficult. Heightened awareness of our social condition makes us restless and irritable. Emotions are mixed with intellect and prone to error. We jump to the wrong conclusions. We're attracted to the unusual or whatever stimulates you, whatever moves you from one thing to the next. And that's why it can be a little bit restless and emotionally detached at these times. But it's good to help break out of a stagnant situation to greater awareness. Find something to positively stimulate your mind. And then we've got a short void, of course, until the moon enters Aquarius. We're still in the morning on Saturday, and during the next couple of days, activities tend to focus more on social obligations. We're feeling liberated, and you kind of need to go your own way. Everyone does. We're uninhibited, unconventional, don't want to follow the rules, more flexible with others as well. It's a good time for social activities, and benefits come from participating in group activities, time spent with friends, your equals. And then this is a really good aspect for doing just that. In the early afternoon on Saturday, the always pleasant moon conjunct Venus. We always have a pleasant, warm disposition, rather sensitive, we're not aggressive, and you just need to approach others with care and consideration during this time, and usually things go really well. It's a good time to relax. It's also a pretty good time for business. All right, moving along to Sunday, March the 3rd. We've got just one aspect today, and that's in the late morning. While the moon's in Aquarius, it squares Mars in Taurus. So that's going to give us a burst of energy, make us restless and irritable, and Mars makes us aggressive. It's poor digestion, we're impulsive. It's not a good time to make decisions. The challenge is to release the energy in a non-destructive way and not cause damage. And basically, benefits come from not discouraging yourself or others. So just don't be too aggressive with others. Okay, and that's it for Sunday, just that one aspect. And moving along to Monday, well, we've got just one aspect on Monday the 4th as well. Now, this is a nice one. It's in the morning. The moon sextile Jupiter. So benefits come from helping others. So be sure to stretch this morning. Aquarius to Sagittarius really loves to stretch in new and innovative ways. Time for a yoga session. It brings a pleasant disposition. It puts a smile on your face. Inhibitions subside, and we're desired to be in a crowd. Maybe opportunities to meet new people, maybe an important social or professional connection. Excellent for social endeavors. Folks are open-minded, idealistic. It brings a lot of bright ideas, and it's a good time for business. So that's the only aspect for Monday. So we got a pretty easygoing Monday with the moon in Aquarius. It's kind of sailing through in a liberated way. And then on Tuesday, March the 5th, we start just after midnight with the very liberating moon in Aquarius sextile Uranus. And this is going to be the last occurrence in these signs for a very long time. Think about it. Uranus is about to leave Aries, and it won't be there for almost 80 more years. So I've been looking at this one and saying, wow, we got moon in Aquarius. It's very liberating, and then it's sextile to Uranus. It's just a very liberating aspect we've been getting these last 7 years. And this is the last pass. So let's enjoy it. Maybe you can stay up late if you need to. Okay, we're ambitious and in need of mental stimulation. Good aspect for teaching, because we really appreciate the intrinsic value of others and want to help them evolve and move on to better circumstances. Excellent time to spend with friends and activities where you can express the unique side of yourself. And then we have a short void, of course, only 6 minutes long, until the moon enters Pisces. Again, it's just after midnight on Tuesday morning. So we're more sensitive and passive for the next couple of days. Imaginative, artistic, and reflective, not forthright, and always considering some other aspect of the situation, possibly trying to find the spiritual reasons why. And we're kind of self-sacrificing as well. More in tune with the subtle vibrations around you, and you may need sanctuary to get in touch with spirit. And then on Tuesday morning, about mid-morning, probably the biggest astrological event this week, Mercury is going retrograde at 29 degrees of Pisces, just before it enters Aries. It's going to be going down to 16 degrees of Pisces, and this will last until March the 28th. Now, Mercury retrograde is the most common retrograde, and it's the one that garners the most attention, even in the mainstream media I've been seeing these days. As well, this particular retrograde ends the period of all planets moving direct, which began January the 6th, and that's something that's helped us make a lot of progress over the first 2 months of this year. And Mercury is going to be really active during the retrograde period. Look at all these aspects, and they're all pretty positive. The Sun conjunct Mercury on the 14th is going to be an especially important aspect this time around, more so than at other times. And maybe we'll get a big event on the 15th with Mercury square Jupiter. But overall, I'm seeing these are very positive aspects during the entire retrograde period. So I have a pretty optimistic view of it all. And this Mercury conjunct Neptune is going to last for a while, basically through the April the 2nd, when it happens again, because it basically stops and goes direct right on top of Neptune. So that will be interesting. A lot of activity during this retrograde period. Should be rather positive, I'm thinking. During this retrograde, the energy turns inward. It does require more energy to accomplish the same task, so be prepared to put more effort into your communications, and you may need to repeat yourself or speak up, but really you just need to double check yourself, make sure you got your information correct. We're just more prone to mental errors. And typically Mercury retrograde periods are not a good time to travel or make important decisions or start new projects or long journeys. There tend to be more mechanical breakdowns. Communication does not flow smoothly, and there's delays and obstructions. But in terms of how we're experiencing this internally, those of us who are looking to find the synchronicity here, I think there's a couple of main themes, and there's much rethinking, as you would probably imagine already with the Mercury retrograde, a reevaluation of ideas and opinions. And in this case, a lot of it has to do with our beliefs and our superstitions, and that's Pisces. And we're not really sure how to move ahead during the retrograde period. We feel like we are in a holding pattern, and we kind of are, because we're waiting for other events to happen in order to know which way we should go forward. So basically waiting for other people to do things, or just waiting for the world to spin around a few more times to see how things are turning out, and then we'll know how to move ahead. And the second theme is it's a time of reconciliation, a reckoning with your past, and reconciliation, and possibly reclaiming the use of the voice or the hands in some way. When the Pisces energy turns inward, as I see it, we can make really good use of it because we're more compassionate with ourselves. And it's not really a time to be assertive, because the assertive, egotistical energy just kind of dissolves. So we're less egotistical. It's more a time to show compassion for self and for others. So, as my father, the astrologer, used to say, 90% of all of the Neptune and Pisces energy gets wasted on useless fantasy and diversions. But I think that's a smaller percentage during retrograde periods in Pisces. Because that energy turns inward, we're more humble and more in touch with our own heart, our own inner feelings, because of course Pisces is compassionate in emotions and has a lot of feelings associated with it. So really during this time we need extra time on a regular basis to reflect and reconsider the past. Things that have been swept under the rug. Pisces can sometimes make things very active. As the energy is dissolving, it seems to go everywhere. The nerves can get kind of fried. So we need more time on a regular basis to relax. and have sanctuary. And, Neptune rules the dream world. So really more time spent sleeping and recuperating. Rest is really important during this time. And don't think that you're just being lazy, because really the mind does a lot of healing on the astral planes. And as you sleep, that's an important part of keeping the mind healthy, is getting that necessary rest and recuperation, avoiding drugs and intoxicants as they block the lines of communication. Harder to hear the voice of spirit and get in touch with your true life purpose. You want to keep your mind as pure as possible. And it could be a time of a reckoning with our past, especially with things related to Mercury. Our ideas and opinions may come back to us and realize, maybe we were wrong, or realize that there was a whole bunch of things. Usually what happens is we see a whole bunch of things we weren't seeing before. So it humbles us. Particularly so with the upcoming new moon in Pisces conjuncting Neptune. We're looking at a serious dissolving of old thought patterns and opinions and the general static that goes through your mind on a daily basis. And during this cleansing period, life gets a little confusing, but only if you're trying to hold on to the past. Really, that's the only thing that brings that confusion. We require sanctuary so we can hear the voice of spirit. We've got to spend time in nature, more time in meditation and reflection, listening to pleasant music that soothes the soul, reading and writing poetry, and I think really important, keeping a journal writing, because that's writing meant to turn inwards. You're supposed to look at your own words and reflect back upon them. And that's just the perfect Mercury retrograde in Pisces activity. A time of mental recuperation. So avoid anything that brings you down. Avoid negative people and places, because it's so easy to absorb the thoughts of others. And I would just say avoid politics in general. Probably going to be a lot of deception going on at this time. A lot of over-idealism, as people have a hard time letting go of all of the untruths that have come about. I would say complete immersion in water is really therapeutic. Swimming or just walking along the beach, the stream, a lake, or any body of water is the perfect place to be, because the water element, it absorbs a lot of what you're releasing, and it gives the mind the opportunity to reflect and to visualize. And I'm going to talk more about that when we get to the Sun conjunct Mercury on the 14th. But that is an aspect for creative visualization, unlike we have had in a long time. That creative energy of the Sun added to Mercury is going to enable you to visualize things in your meditation that you normally would not be able to do. So it should be really interesting. And the best part of this is the opening to spirit and your direct divine connection to source. And we're going to be reaching deep within and getting powerful psychic impressions that remind us of who we really are and what to do next in this life. Recently I came across the definition of spiritual, because we use that word so much. It's like, well, what does it really mean? And it can mean that which binds memories. That which binds memories. It helps you remember. Mentally cohesive on many levels of being. Like the different levels of our being seem to merge, and we remember them. And we consider that experience spiritual. But really, it's just who we are. Really, it's natural to be that way. And traditionally, we would say that this can be a confusing period of time. If you're really mundane, then it is. But as I see it, the retrograde makes us humble, receptive on a deep emotional level. The only difficulty comes from holding on to something that needs to be let go. Something needs to die off in each of us now, and so you just want to let it go. And the Mercury squared Jupiter, already that one is forcing us to sacrifice some of the things that we've learned. Some of what we think is our higher education is really just built on false principles and stuff. And we're being forced to sacrifice that. But we should have some pretty good mental abilities during this time with all these sextiles. They're wonderful. Sextile to Pluto and Saturn and Mars. A lot of mental activity during this time with all these aspects. You know, maybe it won't feel like the typical Mercury retrograde because of all that activity. But as I see it, we get a lot of help from others during this time with all of these positive aspects. And the Mercury conjunct Neptune is going to be in effect basically from March the 24th through April the 2nd. So that's going to be another really mentally expansive week. So check your chart and see which house this is happening in your chart. There you will be doing a lot of rethinking, maybe experiencing some self-doubt along the way, but ultimately recuperating some really important part of yourself. And of course, be gentle with yourself and others during this time. Pisces can be very shy, and no one wants to be confronted on any issue now. And that egotistical behavior, it just comes right back at you during the retrograde. It's like it just falls, your words fall to the ground. So it's really not a time to challenge or be aggressive with others. And the retrograde period includes the new moon in Pisces and Uranus fully entering Taurus as well. So I will mention that since it will be happening before the new moon. So we're changing gears now. We're moving into Uranus entering Taurus, and that'll be on March the 6th, just after midnight. So Uranus in Aries brought about the spiritual warrior, and for me personally, the transit Uranus opposition Mercury in Libra was the transit that got me started on this channel way back in 2015. So it really brought out the warrior in me and a lot of other folks. Folks with planets in Aries and Libra, they changed a lot. So we can expect the same for Taurus and Scorpio. During Uranus and Aries, we were ambitious to adopt a new identity. As Uranus goes into Taurus, we're steadfast and to look to build on what we started in Aries as the 12-step process goes. Taurus says, I own. And it corresponds to the ages of 2 to 4, early childhood, that point when we're learning to distinguish between what is mine and what is yours. During this time, we expect progressive ideals, Uranian ideals, regarding money and personal possessions, and those will awaken us to a new and better reality. And the Sun conjunct Uranus, that's going to be happening on April 22nd. That'll be an important indicator that Uranus has arrived in Taurus. Over the next 7 years or so, expect great changes in personal wealth. The rich get poor and the poor get rich, that kind of thing. The last time Uranus was in Taurus was roughly 1934 to 1942, during the Great Depression here in the USA, a time when there were great changes in fortune. Out of necessity, many people used alternative forms of currency, such as barter. So we could see more of that again. Folks are willing to trade things of equal personal value rather than exchange traditional cash. Very progressive ideal. On the positive side, there will be surprise opportunities to earn money, and those stuck in a rigid pattern of earning money are going to find it hard to adapt. Many will find a new way of earning money, and it will likely involve use of modern technology. And that's what happened last time. As many people during the late 30s left the farm and began to work in factories as they embraced new technology. Maybe now people will start to leave the factories and return to the land and fix that up. But generally speaking, there's a lot of changes of occupation during this time. In politics, calls for greater equality and redistribution of wealth. The last occurrence coincided with the New Deal back in the mid-1930s, a series of public works projects designed to help unemployed people during the Depression. So we could see some attempts at redistribution of wealth along those lines. You know, Uranus is into self-improvement, so folks are now willing to spend money on classes and seminars, workshops designed for self-improvement. And Taurus is fixed and dogmatic, so social groups and organizations ruled by Uranus. These become the same way, stubborn and a little bit selfish, more concerned about their own self-preservation rather than society as a whole, which may seem a bit contradictory. But notice that Taurus squares Aquarius, Uranus' ruling sign. So it's hard to integrate the energy of Uranus into Taurus. There needs to be some pulling back, a restriction on the range of activity. We're more realistic and less idealistic. I mean, think about it in terms of the first Uranus square that happens in your mid-20s, a time when you put away a lot of your revolutionary ways in order to focus on your career. Ultimately, though, that is meant to give you freedom in the long run and to express, your highest potential. But it's that whole idea of needing to pull back and restrict and refocus. And we're just more realistic now. Uranus gets more realistic in Taurus. The positive side is that we'll see the creation of many more social groups. Taurus is Earth, and ambitious Uranus needs to build something physical, tangible, that reflects personal values. Individuals more willing to invest their money into something that is good for the community and reflects their personal values. So we'll see a lot of groups, new groups, which may have a small number of individuals but will serve a vital need in the community. As Uranus opposes planets in Scorpio, it brings a serious conflict of collective values. Scorpio rules banks, where we keep our money. Uranus is now focused on Scorpio, the opposite sign, its object of desire. So Uranus is looking to create more economic balance in society. Rigid banking systems that hide the wealth of people will be forced to change, and ultimately bring a lot of positive change to the banking industry, same way it did in the 1930s. Uranus is the planet of revolution and social upheaval, and will draw upon the Scorpio energy to fuel that activity. Uranus opposition planets in Scorpio is going to bring revolution, conflicts, and war. At the last occurrence, there was a lot of changing roles for women in society. More progressive attitudes were adopted. Women began to enter the workforce, and this happened even more so as Uranus was in Cancer in the early 50s. So Taurus and Cancer are the traditional feminine signs, and Uranus has brought a lot of progressive changes for women as it has gone through those signs in the past. So maybe we'll see some changes there as well. Different ideas, a different set of values. Okay? So that's all for this week for the aspects. And just a reminder, the planets are within you. So that's all for weekly astrology notes. Once again, thanks for viewing. Please subscribe and please hit the like button. I really appreciate it. Just to let you know, I am a practicing astrologer. If you're interested in getting a reading from me, contact me at mobilestar7@yahoo.com or through my weblog on my website. I'll leave links in the description. Have a great week, many blessings, and be good to yourself.